My wife, 32F, and I, 34M, have been together for almost 9 years, married for 6. No kids yet, a dog, a mortgage, the usual. We made it. Checklist. Until very recently, I would have told anyone who asked that we were solid. Not perfect, but solid in that boring, grown-up way that felt safe. Here's the thing that's messing with my head. Everyone keeps saying, she must have been distant. She wasn't, at least not in the obvious ways. She still kissed me goodbye. Still texted me dumb memes. Still asked what I wanted for dinner. She laughed at my jokes, complained about work, curled up next to me on the couch like always. If anything, she was normal. Too normal. But there were little things. The kind you ignore because you don't want to be the paranoid spouse. She started running errands at weird hours. Not late nights, mid-afternoon. I forgot something. Trips. She guarded her phone just enough to be noticeable, but not enough to look guilty. Screen face down. Bathroom breaks with it. A new passcode after years of using our anniversary. And then there were the sudden events. One after another. Her car battery, dying, twice in 1 week. A last-minute work dinner she forgot to mention. A random argument over nothing. Like nothing. That ended with her crying and apologizing an hour later like it never happened. I remember standing in our kitchen last Sunday, holding 2 coffee mugs, thinking, why does everything feel slightly off if nothing is actually wrong? I didn't suspect cheating. I swear I didn't. I thought stress, burnout. Maybe I was the problem. Maybe marriage just hits this quiet, uncomfortable plateau no one warns you about. I wish I'd trusted that uneasy feeling more. Because this is the calm right before everything exploded. Monday is when the unease turned into something I couldn't ignore. I woke up before my alarm because her phone was buzzing on the nightstand. Not ringing, buzzing. That low, insistent vibration that doesn't stop. I reached over, half asleep, thinking it might be my alarm going off on the wrong device. She rolled over immediately and grabbed it. Too fast. She didn't even check the screen in front of me. Just flipped it over, silenced it, and said, "Spam," in this weirdly casual voice. Then she smiled. Actually smiled. Kissed my shoulder. Told me to go back to sleep. That should have been nothing. People get spam messages all the time. But my chest tightened in a way I couldn't explain. It wasn't jealousy. It was confusion. Like my brain was trying to solve a puzzle with a missing piece. Later that morning, another sudden thing happened. I came home early from work because a meeting got canceled. I didn't tell her. I wanted to surprise her with lunch. When I pulled into the driveway, her car was there. Good. Normal. Then I heard her voice. She was on the phone in the kitchen, laughing in that lighter tone she uses when she's really comfortable. Not work laughing. Not polite laughing. Private laughing. I stopped in the hallway without meaning to. I didn't even register what she was saying at first. Just the sound of it. The warmth. The intimacy. Then I heard my name. Not in a loving way. Not cruel either. Just mentioned. Casually. Like I was a character in a story she was telling someone else. "I can't talk long," she said softly. "He's supposed to be home soon." My stomach dropped so hard I had to lean against the wall. I stepped louder on purpose. She jumped. I could hear it in her voice when she said goodbye way too quickly and hung up. When I walked into the kitchen, she was fine. Perfect, actually. Asked me why I was home early. Smiled. No panic. No guilt. Just normal. That's what scared me the most. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I told myself I needed proof, or at least something more concrete than a bad feeling and a half-heard phone call. I also told myself I didn't want to be that guy, the insecure husband jumping at shadows. So I did what I've apparently been trained to do by every bad Reddit story I've ever read. I paid attention. That night, another sudden thing happened. She suggested we go out. On a Monday, she booked a table at this nice little place we usually save for anniversaries. She wore a dress I hadn't seen in months, did her hair differently, even put on the perfume she knows I love. I remember thinking, see? You're an idiot. This is your wife trying. Dinner was great. Too great. She was affectionate, engaged, asking me questions about my day like she was studying for a test. She held my hand across the table, looked at me with this intensity that felt rehearsed. At one point, her phone buzzed on the table. She didn't check it, didn't flip it over, just let it buzz. That should have reassured me. Instead, it felt like a performance. When we got home, she went straight to the shower. Phone came with her. I lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying the laugh from earlier that day. The one I hadn't heard in weeks. Then fate, or karma, or whatever you want to call it, stepped in. She forgot her Apple Watch on the nightstand. I wasn't looking for anything. I swear, I noticed the screen light up out of the corner of my eye. A message preview. Just a name. Mark. No context. No words. Just the name and the heart. My hands started shaking so badly I had to sit down. I didn't open the message. I didn't need to. My brain filled in the rest with brutal efficiency. Mark. A heart. And my wife in the shower, humming like it was any other night. I sat there for what felt like hours, staring at that watch, realizing that the life I thought I had was quietly cracking open, right there on my nightstand. I wish I could say I handled that moment with dignity. I didn't. I picked up the watch, put it down, picked it up again. My brain kept telling me, don't open it. You don't actually want to know. My hands did not agree. Another sudden thing. The shower stopped. I froze, heart pounding so loud I was sure she could hear it through the bathroom door. I put the watch back exactly where it was and sat on the edge of the bed like a kid caught doing something wrong. She came out wrapped in a towel, hair dripping, acting completely normal. Asked me if I wanted to watch something. Leaned down and kissed the top of my head. I almost said something right there. Almost blurted out, who the hell is Mark and why does his name have a heart? But I didn't. I nodded, said I was tired. She shrugged, put on pajamas, and climbed into bed next to me like nothing in the world had changed. She fell asleep in minutes. I didn't sleep at all. Around 2 a.m., her watch buzzed again. I waited. She didn't move. I stared at the ceiling for a full minute, then slowly reached over. This time, I opened it. I won't quote everything because honestly, it still makes my chest hurt, but the gist was unmistakable. Inside jokes, compliments, can't stop thinking about you. Plans, actual plans, not vague, hypothetical stuff. Dates, times, places. The worst part wasn't the flirting. It was how familiar it all was. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This wasn't a drunken text. This was a second relationship running parallel to my marriage, neat and hidden and thriving. I felt sick, not angry yet, just hollow. I remember looking over at her sleeping face, peaceful, comfortable, trusting me not to move, not to look, not to know. And I thought, she's not distant. She's just divided. I put the watch back, lay there until morning, and by the time the sun came up, I knew one thing for sure. There was no unseeing this. Morning came like a cruel joke. She woke up cheerful, too cheerful, asked if I slept okay. I said, yeah, automatically, like my body was on autopilot while my brain was still stuck at 2 a.m. with her watch glowing in my hands. Another sudden thing happened before I could even process breakfast. Her phone rang. She glanced at the screen, and for the first time since this started, she hesitated. Just a split second. Then she declined the call and put the phone face down on the counter. Work? I asked, even though I already knew the answer. Yeah, she said quickly. I'll call back later. That was the moment the anger finally showed up. Not explosive, screaming anger. The quiet kind that tightens your jaw and makes everything feel sharp. I left for work but didn't go in. I sat in my car in the parking lot, staring at the steering wheel, replaying the messages in my head. Every heart emoji felt like a punch. Every inside joke felt stolen. I did something I'm not proud of. I logged into our phone account. We share it, always have. I told myself it was practical, not snooping. Mark's number was there, dozens of calls, long ones. Mostly during hours I thought she was running errands or catching up with friends. Some lasted over an hour. Then another sudden thing. My hands started shaking so badly I dropped my phone onto the passenger seat. I went home early again. This time, I didn't hide it. She was folding laundry when I walked in. Looked up, surprised but smiling. Asked if everything was okay. I stood there, keys still in my hand, heart hammering, and said the words I'd been practicing in my head all morning. Who's Mark? Her smile didn't disappear. It collapsed. In that split second, I got my answer. Her face went pale. Not the kind of pale from a surprise or a stubbed toe. The kind that hits you when the foundation of your world has just cracked. She froze mid-fold, eyes darting to the laundry, then back to me. The room went quiet except for the hum of the dryer. I don't know what you mean, she said, voice tight but steady. I could feel the rage building, but somehow it was beneath everything else. Beneath the betrayal, beneath the disbelief. Don't lie to me. Don't even try. I saw the messages. I saw your calls. I know about Mark. Her shoulders slumped, like the weight of the secret finally hit her. She put the laundry basket down and took a step toward me. I didn't move. I didn't want you to find out like this, she whispered. Then how did you plan to tell me? Or were you planning to not tell me at all? I snapped. The words shocked even me. She flinched, like my anger was physical. Then she said the thing that almost made me collapse. I love you. I do, but it's complicated. Mark, he's just, I don't know. It's not what you think. Not what I think. I had just read messages planning secret lunches, weekend trips, heart emojis, inside jokes, not what I think. My stomach turned. My chest felt tight, like someone had slammed a door on it. Another sudden thing. She reached for my hand. I didn't pull away immediately. For a split second, a tiny, ridiculous part of me hoped it was salvageable. Maybe she was just confused. Maybe this wasn't permanent. But the second I saw the glint of guilt, and, yes, something like excitement, in her eyes when she mentioned Mark, that hope evaporated. I stepped back, hard, not physically, but emotionally. I felt like I'd been shoved into a corner I didn't know existed. I said, quietly, I need to think. I can't, not right now. And then she nodded, almost relieved. She didn't argue, didn't cry. Just retreated to the bedroom, leaving me standing there, staring at the floor, trying to figure out how my life had become this mess in just a few days. I realized then that life had gone from ordinary to shattering in a matter of moments, and there was no going back. I didn't sleep that night. Not really. I lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling, scrolling through her messages again, because somehow my brain needed confirmation, even though the proof was already there. Each ping of my own phone made me jump. Every notification felt like a reminder that she was living this double life. I couldn't focus on anything else: work, emails, even the dog whining at the door. Everything blurred into this single, awful thought: she's cheating. She chose someone else, even if she says she loves me. Tuesday morning came with another sudden event. I got a text from her, short, casual. Running late, work stuff. Don't wait for me. Nothing unusual on the surface. But she left the house 15 minutes later. Her car wasn't in the driveway. I didn't call her. I didn't want to hear a rehearsed excuse. I followed her. I know that sounds insane. But I needed to confront reality. She didn't go to work. She went to a cafe downtown. I parked a block away. Sat there, hands gripping the steering wheel, stomach twisting. And then I saw him. Mark. She hugged him, kissed him on the cheek, whispered something that made him laugh, a soft, intimate laugh I hadn't heard directed at me in years. Another sudden thing. The world felt like it had tilted. I sat there for what felt like forever. My mind couldn't process it. My chest ached. Part of me wanted to run away. Part of me wanted to confront them both right there. I didn't move. I just watched. When she finally left the cafe, holding his hand, looking completely different than the woman who kisses me goodbye in the mornings, I felt my heart crack. I knew then there was no just talking it out, or maybe she's confused. This was real. This was deliberate. And I also realized something terrifying. I had to decide what I was going to do next. Because doing nothing wasn't an option anymore. I came home that evening, but it felt like a different house. Same walls, same furniture, same dog snoring on the rug, but every corner felt wrong, like it belonged to someone else now. She walked in smiling, completely unaware that I had followed her. She hugged me, kissed my cheek, and said, "Busy day?" I didn't answer. I just went to the kitchen, poured a glass of water, and tried to calm my shaking hands. Another sudden thing happened. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, froze for a second, then slipped it into her pocket like it wasn't there. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something. But instead, I did the only thing I could think of. I confronted her again. "Why are you lying to me? I know what you did today. I saw you with him." Her eyes widened, and for the first time, the mask slipped completely. Her voice trembled. It's not like that. I didn't mean for it to happen. Her words stumbled, breaking apart under the weight of truth and guilt. I could see the panic, the fear, the guilt. All those tiny cracks I hadn't noticed before were suddenly gaping canyons. I felt a wave of anger, sharp and hollow at the same time. Not like what? Not like you're cheating? You're holding his hand. You kissed him. You made plans with him. Another sudden thing. Her entire demeanor changed. She went from pleading to defensive in seconds. "Stop yelling. I love you. I love you. But it's complicated." Complicated. That word. It hung in the air like smoke. And I realized then that the woman I trusted with my entire life had been keeping a secret that wasn't complicated at all. It was deliberate. I didn't hit her. I didn't yell more. I just stood there, chest tight, trembling. My mind was screaming. My heart was breaking, and I felt nothing. That's the moment I understood. The betrayal wasn't just the affair. It was the ease with which she could lie, with which she could love someone else while pretending everything was fine with me. I didn't know if I could forgive that. I didn't know if I could even stay in the same house. And yet, part of me still wanted answers. Part of me still wanted her to explain why she chose to do this, why she hadn't stopped, why wasn't enough. I realized, painfully, that those answers might hurt more than the truth itself. I spent the next day in a daze. Work didn't exist. Emails piled up. My phone rang, but I couldn't answer. My dog pawed at me from the couch like I hadn't moved in hours, but I barely noticed. Then another sudden thing. She tried to act normal. She made coffee, asked if I wanted breakfast, talked about mundane things. What show to watch, whether we needed more laundry detergent. It was surreal, like the betrayal had never happened. Like I was overreacting. I wanted to scream, to throw something, to tear apart the life we'd built. But I also wanted to understand. I wanted her to finally admit it fully, to stop dancing around the truth like it was some fragile vase I'd break. I cornered her in the living room. My voice was low, almost calm, but every word carried a weight I could feel in my chest. "Tell me everything," I said. She looked at me for a long time. I could see her internal struggle. I don't know if she thought she could lie her way out or if she was hoping I'd forgive without knowing the details. Finally, she sat down and started talking. Hesitant, shaky, but she told me how long it had been going on. How she met him through work. How it started innocently, just lunches and texts, and then escalated. How she thought she could handle it without hurting me. Every word felt like a punch. I couldn't process it all. The casual way she spoke about someone else holding the intimacy that used to be mine made my stomach twist. Another sudden thing. She started crying. Quiet, muffled sobs. Not desperate sobs. Calculated, almost like she was saving her energy for later. I sat there, stunned, angry, broken, confused. Every possible emotion collided, leaving me numb. I realized then that this wasn't just about the affair. It was about trust being shattered in a way that might never be repaired. And in that moment, I made my first real decision since discovering the truth. I wasn't going to let her go, not yet. I needed to understand why. Even if the answer scared me more than I could handle. The next few days were a whirlwind, sudden, chaotic, and emotionally exhausting. Every small interaction between us felt like walking on glass. She tried to act normal, but the tension was palpable. Every glance, every text notification, every unanswered phone call felt like a threat. I caught myself checking her messages, obsessively, even though I knew it would hurt. And it did, every time. Then another sudden thing happened. I noticed little patterns. Lunches she forgot to tell me about. Small cash withdrawals she couldn't explain. A scent on her clothes, perfume I didn't recognize. It all added up. Every single one of those tiny, seemingly inconsequential moments pointed to the same devastating truth. One night, I confronted her again. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I saw the messages, the texts, the calls, everything. "Why did you do this? How long have you been lying to me?" She hesitated, tears welling up. "I don't know. I didn't mean for it to get this far. I thought I could stop, I really did." Her voice cracked. I could hear the regret, the shame. But underneath it all, there was still something else. Something that told me she hadn't completely stopped caring for him. Another sudden thing. The dog, oblivious to the emotional chaos, jumped onto the bed. I absent-mindedly patted him, and the absurd normalcy of it hit me like a wall. Life outside our marriage continued. People laughed. Kids played. Work went on. The world didn't pause for the betrayal I was living through. I felt torn. Part of me wanted to scream, to throw her out immediately. But another part wanted to cling to the life we built, hoping maybe we could salvage it. But deep down, I knew things had changed forever. Trust isn't like a vase you can glue back together. Once broken, the cracks show. Always. And I was beginning to understand that whatever decision I made next would define the rest of my life. I just didn't know which path to take yet. By Thursday, I realized I couldn't function in the gray area anymore. Living with her and pretending we were okay felt like slow torture. Every small smile, every casual touch was loaded with betrayal. I felt like a ghost in my own home. Another sudden thing happened that night. I was going through some old photos on my phone. Memories from before we were married, early dates, vacations, candid shots of us laughing, and I stumbled on a photo she had taken recently. A selfie of her laughing. But her eyes weren't looking at the camera. They were looking somewhere else, someone else. And it hit me like a punch. She had been here with me, physically, but mentally, emotionally, her heart was somewhere else for months. I didn't sleep again that night. I paced, thought, replayed every memory, every little thing I had brushed off. And then it all came flooding back, the strange errands, the mid-afternoon disappearances, the phone buzzing in ways it never had before. The way she smelled sometimes like she'd been kissed by someone else. Friday morning, I made a sudden decision. I couldn't wait for her to decide for me. I needed answers face to face, without screens, without hiding. I asked her to sit down at the kitchen table with me. No phones, no distractions. Just the two of us. She looked nervous but compliant, as if she knew this conversation was inevitable. I need to know, I said slowly. Do you want to be married to me, or are you choosing him? Her face went pale. The hesitation, the pause, the words she didn't know how to say, they all confirmed what I already knew deep down. I don't know, she admitted finally, voice barely a whisper. Another sudden thing hit me in that moment. A cold, sharp clarity. The person I had been married to, the person I had trusted for nearly a decade, had chosen a life that didn't fully include me. And for the first time, I saw the path forward clearly. It wasn't going to be about chasing her or waiting for her to decide. It was going to be about me, my life, my heart, my dignity. I just had to figure out how to start that process without completely falling apart first. The next few days were a blur of planning, paperwork, and emotional exhaustion. I started quietly gathering my thoughts, figuring out my next steps. Separation wasn't something I wanted at first. I kept hoping she'd realize the gravity of what she'd done, but reality had a way of slapping me awake. Another sudden thing happened. She tried to explain herself. She sat me down, tearful, and said, I didn't mean for this to happen. I love you, but I'm confused. I never stopped loving you, but I also can't stop thinking about him. Her words were like knives wrapped in silk. Sweet sounding, soft, almost loving, but every syllable confirmed the truth. She had divided her heart and wasn't ready to choose me. I realized then that love alone doesn't fix betrayal. Trust does. And our trust had been shattered in the most intimate, deliberate way possible. I remember another sudden thing vividly. She reached out to touch my hand. My reflex was to pull away. The air between us felt sharp, charged with every broken promise, every hidden text, every stolen laugh she had shared with someone else. I stood up. I couldn't do it. I couldn't pretend anymore. I can't be with someone who doesn't choose me, I said quietly, though my voice shook. I tried. I wanted to forgive. I wanted to fix us. But this isn't a mistake. This is a decision you made every day. She started crying harder, begging, promising, apologizing. But I had already crossed a line in my mind. Some things can't be undone. That night, I packed a bag and stayed at a friend's house. The suddenness of leaving was jarring, but it was necessary. I couldn't breathe in the same space where my trust had been annihilated. For the first time since discovering the affair, I felt a tiny spark of control over my own life. I had decided, not out of anger, not out of spite, but out of self-preservation. And as I lay on that friend's couch, staring at the ceiling, I realized that moving forward would be messy, painful, and sudden, but it would be mine. The following week was a whirlwind of logistics and raw emotion. I met with a lawyer, started sorting finances, and quietly changed passwords and security questions. Every step felt like ripping off a bandage, painful, necessary, and abrupt. Another sudden thing happened. I ran into her at the grocery store. She looked at me with that familiar smile, the one I used to melt for, and for a moment, a flicker of nostalgia hit me. Then I remembered Mark, the messages, the lies. The smile didn't reach her eyes. It didn't matter anymore. I realized something crucial. I wasn't just losing a wife, I was losing an illusion. The person I thought I knew had been living a secret life right under my nose. And that realization was harder to process than any argument or betrayal could have been. That night, I allowed myself to cry. Alone in my apartment, I let the anger, sadness, and grief pour out. It was the first time I didn't feel frozen, like a statue carved from shock. The suddenness of acceptance hit me like a wave. My marriage, at least in the form I believed it existed, was over. I also began reflecting on the emotional toll, the sleepless nights, the obsessive thoughts, the constant tension. I realized that even if I stayed, things would never be normal again. The trust, the ease, the quiet comfort we had shared, gone. Another sudden thing. My phone buzzed. A message from her. Simple, apologetic, pleading. But I didn't open it. Not yet. I understood, in that quiet, painful clarity, that closure wouldn't come from her. It would come from me, choosing to reclaim my life, my peace, and my dignity. And for the first time since discovering the affair, I felt a tiny, steady pulse of something I hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. Not for us, not for her, but for myself. Weeks passed, and the suddenness of each emotional wave didn't ease, it changed form. Some days I felt anger so sharp I could taste it. Other days, a hollow sadness that made me wonder if I'd ever feel normal again. Another sudden thing happened. I went back to our home to pick up a few personal items. Walking through the rooms, the kitchen where she laughed, the bedroom where I once felt safe, was surreal. Everything looked the same, but nothing felt the same. I ran my hand along the counters, touched the bedspread, and realized that memories are treacherous. They can feel comforting and cutting at the same time. She tried to talk. She said, "I wish it didn't happen. I wish you could understand." I shook my head. "There's nothing to understand anymore," I said. "I know who you are now." Another sudden thing hit me then, relief. It was strange, unexpected. Relief that I no longer had to guess, no longer had to hope, no longer had to live in that gray area where trust and doubt intertwined. I packed the last of my things, feeling each movement as a small reclaiming of autonomy. I left a note, not a confrontation, not a plea, just a statement. "I loved you. I still care, but I deserve someone who chooses me fully. Goodbye. Walking out, keys in hand, I felt the weight of the past months start to lift. The suddenness of leaving, of making a definitive choice, was terrifying and freeing. I realized that moving on wouldn't be easy, but staying in a life half-lived, constantly haunted by betrayal, wasn't living at all. And for the first time in weeks, I could breathe again. This wasn't the end of pain, but it was the start of reclaiming myself. It's been a few months since I moved out. The sudden, sharp chaos of discovery has faded, replaced by a slow, uneven healing. I still think about her sometimes, about the life we shared, but the longing is tempered by clarity. I deserve trust, honesty, and someone who chooses me completely. I started therapy. I reached out to friends I'd neglected. I spent more time with my dog, who never judged me for crying on the floor or staring blankly at the ceiling. Little things. Making coffee just the way I like it, taking long walks, listening to music without guilt, became anchors in the storm. Another sudden thing happened just last week. I laughed. Really laughed. At something silly a friend said, without thinking about betrayal or messages or heartbreak. It was like a tiny spark that had been buried under months of hurt finally flickered to life. I've learned a lot from this. About trust, about love, about boundaries, and about the kind of life I won't settle for. I've realized that love alone can't carry a relationship. It's respect, honesty, and commitment that hold it together. So here's my advice to anyone in a similar situation. Trust your gut. Don't ignore the little, off things. And when the truth comes crashing down, don't feel guilty for choosing yourself. Leaving is hard, painful, and messy, but staying in a life half-lived is worse. Some days still hurt. Some nights I replay moments I wish I could erase. But every day, I get a little stronger, a little freer. And that's how I survive betrayal. One sudden, brutal truth at a time, until I finally reclaim myself.